So, Jeff, when you work with clients, it's my understanding that the FDA has really encouraged early conversations with manufacturers to discuss what their intention is with real world evidence, as well as to give them early feedback so that their approaches end up attaining the objectives that they hope when it's submitted for approval. Tell me just a little bit about your experiences in interacting with both clients and FDA in these early discussions.
Yeah, well, it pops into my head a couple of really important things, Patty. First of all, we 1000% endorse the idea of early discussions, and having those discussions being very well educated and informed discussions. Again, let's make sure that our clients are looking at the guidances, are very well aware of what the FDA expects as far as if they are the subject of the real world evidence. So early discussions, informed discussions, making sure the people that are doing the discussing really again understand the nuances between the 18 wheeler and the Tesla so that they can, as appropriate, flip back and forth between, okay, here's what we would do if this was a randomized clinical trial. Here's what we're not doing because this is more of a real world evidence context. Uh, so that's critical. Again, 1,000 times it goes back to education and ensuring that we're saying the right things. I've got a list of people that contribute to my $5 fund whenever somebody says observational trial, for example. Trial has a specific connotation, and observational study, I would say, is more important, more appropriate. I'm probably being overly anal retentive here, but I think terminology and appropriate lexicon really helps ensure that the parties on both sides understand that you get it. The other thing that I think is important is that real world evidence may not always be with the regulatory submissions in mind or regulatory authorities. We've got to look at some of the classic uses of real world evidence in documenting clinical, economic, humanistic value for different decision makers, payers, et cetera. And let's make sure that the recipients of this information are clear on what we're trying to establish and what we're not, what the limitations of the research are. Being transparent about those limitations is critical, really, at every stage. So, yeah, I think again, it's informed discussions, early discussions, making sure that we're clear on if we're talking to the FDA or other regulatory authorities, looking at what they viewed before as legitimate, looking at guidances they've put out. And again, I've seen more enlightenment at the FDA. You can go back to maybe Scott Gottlieb's tenure and Amy Abernathy as a deputy commissioner. Really smart people that really have looked at things differently, recognized that we've got to close that gap between clinical research and medical decision making, and have been very progressive in their acceptance of real world data, real world evidence, with important guidances along the way.